So Ray, let's talk about tips of what things people should be doing getting ready for winter time with their units.
Well, most of the market around here is natural gas primarily, so we'll focus on that. Basic,
Which is for their heaters versus their air
Yes,
conditioners, right?
yes.
Okay.
basically, if, where our cutoff is, if your unit is 3 to 5 years old, you probably need to have it professionally serviced. But there are some things you can do that, where you don't have to get into the unit yourself. One of the things that we see a lot, and it seems that it's always roofing season around here. So what happens is you get these roofers up there doing that hard roofing work, vent pipe comes apart. So if you have the ability to just go up the ladder and look at the flue pipe, which is the galvanized pipe that comes off the furnace, goes through the attic and through the roof deck. It's pretty common, actually, for that to be, I say not uncommon, for that to be broken. So you can just visually look at that once a season and make sure if anybody's been working in your attic or if you've had roofing work done, that flue pipe is not broken. The other thing that is kind of a tired statement, but we have to say, look at the air filter. And the reason for that is a dirty air filter will shut down a gas furnace. The furnace runs too hot, and a dirty air filter will cause it to shut down. So that needs to be done.
So those sound like things that just the homeowner could do themselves, right?
Yeah, it's not, because we really don't want the homeowner going into the gas furnace. And really, gas furnaces that are built today are much, much safer than they were 20 years ago. Every time the furnace comes on, there's probably 6 to 7 safeties that it has to go through before it will fire. So they're pretty safe. However, there's other things, there's tune-up items that need to be done year to year if that furnace is 3 to 5 years old.
And is that what you're referring to when you're saying a service call? That type of
Yeah,
thing?
just a yearly check on the furnace. There's just things that a little bit of corrosion sets in, and there's other visual things that we do to kind of make sure the furnace is operating safely. So that's primarily what a homeowner can do. Now, we're going to talk about carbon monoxide, but the other thing I would do, just as a reminder in the beginning of the season, is make sure your carbon monoxide detector is working. And we recommend, we'll talk about it, I guess, well, I recommend the type that just plugs into a wall socket. So once a year, just make sure that thing is in good working order.
So a general maintenance call is not something that's very expensive, least off of, again, I'm not
General,
referring to that if
yeah.
there's a repair needed, but
Yeah.
just the actual maintenance of
Yeah.
it is not very expensive.
General.
So what would you check when you're doing just a general maintenance call?
Oh, there's ignition issues. We want to make sure there's no corrosion in
And by ignition, the unit
Yeah,
starting?
it's when the unit starts.
Right.
There's an ignition process that goes on. We want to make sure there's not a lot of corrosion in there.
Mhm.
We want to make sure the burners are clean. We take a look at all the electrical components to make sure there's no burns. We do the visual check on the flue pipe. We make sure that it's clear and together. Combustion air source, in other words, the oxygen that's got to get to the
Right.
furnace, we make sure that's right. We look at the air filter. And generally, we do a carbon monoxide check with our meter also,
Right.
to make sure there's no leaks around the furnace. It doesn't take very long, and that's just another safety check.
So if it's an electric unit, is there anything?
Basically, an
How does it
electric unit, and this is fairly common on electric units, is burned wires, because the amp draw, the electrical current going through the furnace is so high that you can get burned or damaged wires, and that's a pretty important issue. It doesn't take very long to go through an electric furnace, but that's the primary thing that we look for.
So if you're prepping for summertime, what would be the main thing? They check freon levels in the air conditioner?
Yeah, we check refrigerant levels. I guess the most important thing is we wash the outdoor unit, and
Does that increase the efficiency of the unit?
yeah, there's no doubt. And
Okay.
they need to be rinsed off about once a year. We don't use chemicals. I think the industry's kind of gotten away from chemically cleaning the outdoor unit. There's really no need for that. We wash the outdoor unit, check the refrigerant pressure. We make sure the drain in the attic is clear, that the attic unit has to
Right.
drain the water out, so we clear that out. And again, make sure the air filter's clean.
One of the things I always see, especially in the summertime, is that when I'm showing homes the little PVC pipes that come out of the fascia, that if you see something dripping, there are people who think it's supposed to be doing that.
Excellent.
That is just, that's the sign that lets you know to call a professional because you may have a clog, correct?
It's excellent point. It's very common that we get out and we're actually working on something else in the system, and up in the eave or the trim work,
Right.
it's dripping water out there, slow drip.
Sounds like-
And the homeowner, it's happened for so long, they just think that that's the way it's supposed to be. It's not. That is actually the secondary catch pan under the unit that's filling up with water for some reason. That's the last line of defense before it goes through the sealant.
So if you see that, the best thing to do, because people run into that in the summertime all the time, is to turn your unit off
Yes.
immediately
Yeah.
and then call you.
Yeah, you need to call, because that secondary pan, actually the life on that, if it's holding water, is, it's only, it's got a limited life because it's galvanized. If it's holding water, it'll go. So, yeah, that's a good point. And it's usually over a window where you can see it drip for a reason. If it's dripping, you need to call.
Okay, so let me ask you this, are there things, like I said, somebody has a person come out and service their unit, and all of a sudden they're telling them, this unit needs to be replaced, and I think it's gonna go out in a year or so. What would be the things to go, hey, this is legitimate to maybe get checked out, or this is
Okay.
the warning signs of
Okay.
somebody trying to upsell you something?
Here's the deal. So much of this gets back to the trust you have in your contractor.
Right.
There are hundreds of legitimate, excellent contractors out there. So it's the trust that you have, and it's the way they run their business. If they're trying to upsell on an unnecessary basis, you're gonna pick up on that pretty quickly. One thing that I hear a lot, well, you need a surge protector, which that's kind of a good thing, a surge protector, but if they say, well, you're just calling them out for a check, the unit's working okay, you want to have it checked and clean, they say, well, you need a surge protector, and it's $750. Be careful of if your unit is working and you get some kind of $750 upsell. There's a lot of things that I've heard that those upsell problems. If you are told your compressor's out, that goes back to the trust you have in your contractor. And if you have a compressor out, if you've been told that, unless you really know the contractor, go to your neighbors or your friends or family and get a second opinion, somebody
Just
they've
gonna say
used,
that.
because, boy, the old compressor out thing we've got an emergency here, you gotta get it changed tonight.
Right.
That's another thing, you gotta do it right now, you gotta change
They're
it tonight.
imposing some
We got-
immediacy
yeah,
into the situation.
We got a crew standing by.
Right.
So, again, there are times when the compressor's out, it's legitimate, or you might need a surge protector, but just be careful of these guys that try to upsell when your unit's.
So let me ask you this, what would you say if a unit has been maintained, with proper maintenance, what would you say would be the expected life of a unit? Are we talking, and I realize it depends on the grade of the unit, are we talking 10 years,
No, it's
15 years? or-
Good question. If a unit is maintained and it doesn't develop refrigerant leaks, a 15-year lifespan is not, that's pretty good. It's reasonable. I've got tons of units out in the field that are going longer than that.
Mhm.
But without the refrigerant leaks that develop, and if you've got decent maintenance, 15 years is not out of the question. I think at that point, though, it's realistic to say, hey, we need to start budgeting here, in the 12 to 15.
And technology changes, meaning in other words, what was efficient then may not, just because it's running doesn't make it efficient at year 20.
No doubt.
That
Yeah,
type of
no-
situation,
No
right?
doubt. The
Okay.
industry has changed so much, and efficiencies are way, way more. I mean, the minimum unit that we sell today, 5 years ago, is considered ultra-high efficient.
Right.
So things have changed a lot. So,
Understood.
and when you change a unit out today, generally speaking, everything is changed out. There's a few exceptions to that, but for the
And by
most
everything,
part,
you're referring to the outside and the
in-
inside, right?
Inside and outside,
Okay.
because by law, those two units have to
to
match.
match,
They
right.
have to match, so.
And that's one of the things, sometimes if somebody has one of these home warranties on a house, that the home warranty companies won't cover it because they say they're what they call mismatched systems, that type of
Correct.
situation,
Yeah.
so.
Correct.
So let me ask you this, warning signs that somebody should look out for, like, let's say outside, units making too loud of a noise, that
Yeah,
type of thing?
Yeah, okay, we talked about the dripping.
Right, we talked about
pipe
the-
outside.
right.
The other one, if you look at the outdoor unit, and you see ice on the tubing coming out of the wall that
Right.
connects to the outdoor unit.
Right,
we've got issues there.
Right.
Either airflow issues or something's going on there.
Right.
A unit should never produce ice, so if you see frost or ice
Right.
on those on the
Turn your unit off.
turn the unit off
Okay.
and call whoever
Okay.
your contractor is.
Or if it's, the compressor outside is sounding like a jet.
Noises, strange noises mean damage for the most part. Loud knocks or bangs or like, hey, this thing's screeching in the attic, something's doing damage up there, so turn it off. And you know you're living in the home, you know if there's something going on there. And that always, just about every time, it means damage.
So, and then the other thing, at least for me anyway, is where I'm saying, I'm showing a home and I smell gas. So in other words, and then I look and no one's got a simple Home Depot plug in the wall carbon monoxide detector. But that's one of the best things you can do to protect yourself, especially with the gas furnaces, just to be on the safe side.
Yeah,
Would that be correct or incorrect?
well, you're talking about a natural gas odor?
Right.
Well, I see that there's really, I don't know of any device that you can put in a home that will detect that. If
Okay.
you smell natural gas, call the gas company immediately.
Okay.
Because that has to be turned off out at the meter.
No, I understand
Yeah.
that, but would a plug-in carbon monoxide detector on the wall, would that be something
No.
prudent to do? No?
No, it won't pick up natural gas.
Okay.
But the carbon monoxide detector is extremely important because, I mean, you can get data online that gives you the safe levels of carbon monoxide.
Right.
The safest level is 0 parts per million.
Got it.
So carbon monoxide detector is a must. Now, I would put one in the living area and in the bedroom area.
Okay, very good. Any other tips or things that you would recommend?
One other thing, and we got off track just a little bit about issues, when do I know to call?
Mhm.
The other one would be excessive tripping of breakers. Now, for whatever reason, you're going to get breakers that trip
Mhm.
maybe once or twice a season. I don't think I would worry about that. But if you're resetting a breaker every week or a few days, something's going on.
Especially in the
Yeah,
summertime.
you need to deal with that. So we get a lot of that. And we've been resetting this breaker every couple of weeks. You need to call somebody.
Well, one thing too, and I may be incorrect on this, but for argument's sake, if somebody says their AC is not cooling enough, sometimes the problem is not necessarily, or the challenge isn't necessarily the AC, it's just that they've got this huge attic with lack of insulation, not a lot of ventilation, which makes that system work harder. Would that be correct? A little bit?
Yeah, and see, there's a lot of issues that can come up there. A lot of that is solar gain. Pull the curtains, because you actually have heat loss and heat gain that will go right through the window. But there's another calculation, solar gain, where the sun is just beating right down on the glass.
Mhm.
And just close the drapes, because it will, that helps a lot in the summer. Keep them closed when that sun's up there.
Okay.
The other thing, insulation, good windows and all that, you kind of have to do a payback analysis there.
Understand.
But the quickest payback is probably attic insulation. I don't really like digging around in that stuff. But
Right.
the thing is, you get your quickest payback with
Okay.
attic insulation.
Radiant barrier maybe helps a little bit too.
Radiant barrier is great. Now, you
Okay.
got to make sure that it's applied right. Yeah, I
Right.
see it
You
misapplied.
use the, as I call it, the sheaths, meaning the boards versus just spraying it.
Yeah, and it needs to be on the roof deck. And
Right.
I can't talk about the science, but I know putting it
Understand.
on the attic floor is actually misapplied, so you
Okay.
need to get with somebody that's in that business.
Great.
The other thing that I was gonna say too, and I forgot about this, is prepping for summer.
Mhm.
We have all kinds of questions, my electric bill's too high, yeah, almost
Right.
several times a day. Okay, I would love to sell a new job everywhere we go, but we're
Mhm.
not gonna do that. The quickest way to lower your bills is to go to powertochoose.org. I would say a couple times a year. You type in your zip code and it will give you every electrical program for that area. And there's some very competitive rates out there. Many times I just say, hey, do you mind if I look at your electric bill? And they don't know that they have a choice in who they pay for power and what they're paying. So if you go in on there, there's fact sheets, every single program, Reliant, TU Electric, whoever it might be, they have fact sheets in there with all of their programs. And you need to check that at least a couple of times a year, because when your contract is up, you go back up to street rates.
Mhm.
And the easiest way to pay less money for power is to make sure you're not
Have a
paying
lower
too
rate.
much.
Right.
Yeah. So
Okay. Great.
it comes up a lot.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
I think that's about it.
All right. So, give yourself a phone number plug here.
817-801-7084.
Okay. I just let you know I've referred Randy for years to my customers. I have used Randy personally many, many times, so I truly mean that. He's a great guy. If you want to get something evaluated, give Randy a call. I appreciate you guys greatly. Until next time.